characters, incidents, names, and situations used in this story are fictitious. The resemblance to any person living or dead is purely coincidental. The following video contains some horror elements and suitable for a mature audience, 16 plus. This channel and video is not for kids.
Hello friends, I am Aryan and welcome to our channel Midnight Horror Stories, where you get to hear true and scary ghost stories. In our channel, you will get to hear true and scary stories every Tuesday and Saturday. But before starting the story, all the friends who have come to this channel for the first time, please subscribe to the channel, and if you like the story, then definitely introduce yourself in the comment section. Then, let's do not take much time and start our story quickly.
Friends, today's story of ours is of a Khatoon living in a neighboring country, Pakistan, whose name is Wahida. So let's now hear the story from Wahida's point of view. Hello friends, my name is Wahida and I am from Karachi city of Pakistan. Today I want to tell you all an incident related to my life, after which my life has changed completely. And today I am at that stage in life where I find death more dear than life. And the biggest scary reason for losing my life is that you will know in this story. Actually, it all started with me about 2 years ago. In my married life, there was always a fight between me and my husband Salim. And the reason for all this was my maternal uncle's daughter Zenith. My husband and I got married against our family, because of which our whole family was angry with us. At that time, we were supported by my maternal uncle's daughter Zenith. She was only a year younger than me. He used to come to our house often, and in the meantime, he and Salim had an affair. I was unaware of all this. When I started suspecting this, I even talked to Salim about it. But he often dismissed my words as baseless, and this often led to fights between us. And then gradually, my suspicion began to turn into belief, because I had seen Salim talking to Zenith secretly on the phone many times. Also, I had seen them roaming the market together many times. By the way, I told Zenith a lot many times, but now it didn't matter to both of them. And one day came when Salim married Zenith against my wishes and brought her home as my stepmother. That day I felt as if doom had come upon me. When I told Salim about this, he said that if you try to argue too much, I can divorce you. Because of which I became silent. Now my stepdaughter Zenith and my husband were living in the same house in front of my eyes. At the same time, my condition had become much worse. There was no value in my house. She was just like a maid. How could I see Salim with Zenith in the same house at the same time? Seeing your husband with your stepmother is perhaps the biggest pain in life. But seeing all this happening in front of my eyes, I was forced to remain silent, because I had bought enmity for Salim from my family and my family. I didn't have any relatives of my own anymore. But I didn't see Salim being someone else's. I loved him very much. In such a situation, someone told me that there is a tantric who can do the work of dynasty. So I went to that tantric. When I spoke to the tantric, he made big talks. I was convinced that Salim would find me forever and be away from my stepmother forever. Saying this, at that time he asked me for 500 rupees. Then I sold my gold ring at that time and gave that money. Then the tantric did something similar in front of me. That he did that action with goat entrails, chicken blood, dead fish, and many such things, and then sent me home. It was probably a coincidence that Salim spoke to me in a good way that day. Seeing this, I felt that perhaps this was the effect of that tantric vidya, because of which Salim is slowly coming to my control. So I went to the tantric 2 or 3 times. Now slowly, I would go to the tantric on the pretext of some work in the house. Unknowingly, I had fallen into the trap of the tantric, and when I came home, I tried to go to Salim and get him away from Zenith. Because of which one day, Zenith took Salim to another locality forever and started living in a rented house. Now I made a lot of calls and messages to Salim, but he didn't respond to my call messages, which made me even angrier. So I went to the tantric and told me everything while crying. But I had forgotten that there are often people here who do not sympathize with someone's suffering. Rather, they take advantage of his compulsion. And that's what happened to me. The tantric pretended to be false sympathetic to me and then assured me that everything would be fine. Wait a bit. Now he slowly started taking money from me, sometimes in the name of getting some action done and sometimes in the name of making an amulet. And one day he asked me to do something that I didn't believe existed for. She said that if I want to get my husband and get rid of my stepmother forever, I have to sleep with him. I was very angry when I heard this. But the tantric said that if I do something like this, my husband will always love me. He will stay with me and my co-wife will get nothing but trouble. Hearing this, I couldn't understand what was right and what was wrong. Because by that time, I had started hating Zenith so much that my blood started to boil. I felt like killing him. Salim, whom I loved immensely, would leave me like this. I couldn't stand it. In such a situation, I accepted the tantric and handed over my honor to that tantric. Now every time that tantric forced me to sleep with him, but I couldn't do anything about falling into his trap. Slowly the days went by. Salim did not come to me, but I must have lost everything by falling into the trap of that tantric. Now I threatened the tantric that if he did not help me, I would tell the whole world the whole thing and then give my life. Hearing this, the tantric got a little nervous, and he again told me something that made me feel that maybe everything will be fine now. I will get him forever. Because he said that you should go to the graveyard between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. and go there and take off all your clothes and take a bath there. Then there is a grave that has been lost in a few days. You have to say the mantra that I speak while sitting there. There are some actions to be done at the same time. After that, some of his dark power will become your slave, and then you can get whatever you want, not just your husband. You can get any wealth in this world. Hearing this, I got into the words of the tantric and never once thought whether it would be right for me to do all this or not. Then at about 12 that night, I reached the cemetery. While going there, I had not the slightest fear of what might happen to me there. Should I go there or not? At first, I was afraid of the name of the cemetery, but I was so madly in love with Salim that now I just had to get him, for which I could do anything. The first thing I saw when I got there was a tap outside the cemetery. There, she took off all the clothes, put them aside and started bathing. When I was taking a bath, I felt like someone was staring at me. Realizing this, I looked around in a hurry to see if any human had come after me. But when I couldn't see anyone, I ignored it and started taking a bath. Then I heard a voice that sounded like someone screamed in a horrible way. Hearing this, I quickly turned off the faucet. But no sound was heard now. Maybe that's how I'm feeling a vow. Thinking of this, I took a bath and then went inside the cemetery with no clothes. Going there, I looked at a grave which looked like someone had just died yesterday. Seeing this, a smile came to my face because the tantric had said that the newer the grave, the sooner the benefit would be. In such a situation, I sat on top of that grave and put all the things that I had brought with me, including goat bones, chicken blood, fish, meat, a bottle of wine, all these things there. Then, sitting near the grave without clothes, closed her eyes and started chanting the mantra that the tantric had told. So after a while, I felt like there were some people standing around me. Feeling this, I hurriedly opened my eyes. But if I didn't see anybody, maybe that's what was happening. Thinking of this, I closed my eyes again and started chanting the same mantra when I heard the sound of someone laughing horribly in my ears. She was so terrifying that my heart sank to my mouth just after hearing it, and I looked around nervously, but I couldn't see anyone. But I was too scared. In such a situation, I wanted to run back. Then I remembered the tantric who had said that I have to complete my ritual. Otherwise, it would mean nothing. In such a situation, I closed my eyes again and tried to do that action. Then I felt as if someone's rough hands were trying to touch my private part of my body. But I kept saying the same mantra with my eyes closed. Gradually, someone's obscene act began to grow closer to me. Seeing this, he opened his eyes and looked around. But when no one appeared, she closed her eyes again and started saying the same mantra. In such a situation, somehow I completed that action, and then as soon as I got up from there, I also heard someone walking behind me. So while increasing the plow, I looked back but I did not see anyone. So I quickly stepped out of the cemetery, and where the tap was installed, I said my clothes and quickly left from there. But I could feel someone's footsteps, and it felt like someone was trying to whisper something in my ears. When there was no one with me, due to which I started feeling very scared, so I came running to my house. I breathed a little sigh of relief when I got there. Now I locked the door of the house from inside and came to my room. By the way, I was getting very tired because of all this. All I was thinking about was that if any black power there becomes my slave, then I will do whatever I want. Now, remembering Wahida, my blood was boiling that I would torture her in such a way that she would beg for her death. Thinking of all this, as soon as I closed my eyes to sleep, I felt as if someone was sitting next to me because I could feel the sound of someone breathing. So my eyes opened in a hurry. There was no one there. Now I checked the gate of my house, which was properly installed from inside. Then I lay down to sleep, and as soon as I closed my eyes, I felt the same again. That's when I remembered the tantric who said that black forces often express a sense of being around. So I started to be happy now, thinking that I did the actions properly, because of which the black forces will now become my slaves. Thinking of this, I closed my eyes, and at that moment, a drunken feeling began to take over me. So I fell asleep in no time. That's when I felt the touch of someone's rough hands on my body, like someone is trying to touch me in a lewd way. And then I felt like someone was trying to tear my clothes. I was trying to open my eyes as soon as I realized this, but I couldn't open my eyes. Now, slowly it felt like someone's pressure on my body was increasing. And then I started having a problem, because it felt like someone was tearing my whole body apart with doing the wrong thing to me, because of which I was suffering. But there was no sound coming out of the throat. And then all this went on for about 2 hours, because of which my body was hurting a lot. In such a situation, I fell into a deep sleep. Then when I woke up in the morning, seeing my condition, my eyes were torn because there was not a single cloth on my body. In fact, there were scratch marks of nails all over my body, and my body was hurting so much that I couldn't even sit up on my bed. In such a situation, I felt that something wrong had happened to me, and all this was probably done to me by some evil force. Just thinking about it made me nervous. Then, somehow, I got dressed and went to meet the same tantric. When I went there and told the whole thing to the tantric said that black forces often indulge in someone's body before giving any benefit to him. And this is what happened to you. Give your body and ask for whatever you want. Hearing this, I couldn't say anything even if I wanted to, because I had to get my husband back somehow. While I had forgotten that in return for all this, I had also put my dignity, which is the pride of a woman, at stake. Now I was back home. Then I rested all day because my body had no strength at all. Slowly, as night fell, I began to feel nervous as soon as I remembered last night. But I will get everything. Thinking about it was comforting myself. At around 12:30 a.m., suddenly I felt like someone was trying to whisper something in my ear. But I didn't understand what he was saying. Just someone's horrible voice echoed in the ears. In such a situation, when I looked around, I did not see anything. And then an intoxication started on me, and I was like fainting. Now, even in a state of unconsciousness, I felt like someone was trying to force myself, and I was trying my best to save myself, but I couldn't do anything if I wanted to. At that time, I was in a lot of pain, due to which tears were coming out of my eyes. My voice was also choked in my throat, because whoever it was tearing me down badly, and I was getting tormented. Then after about 2 hours when he left me, now I heard the sound of someone's fast footsteps in my ears. So I opened my eyes while lying down. Now seeing what I saw in front of me, my heartbeat only increased. Because the shadow that stood in front of me had a face exactly like an animal, and the body was like a human face. His face was so much more scary that I can't even tell you guys. He had big eyes that were red in color.
It looked as if blood would come out of them, and the teeth were also big. It was a strange face. At the same time, there was a terrible smell in the whole room. Seeing this now, I was very scared. And in such a situation, to save myself, I started running out of the house screaming. Then that scary shadow started moving towards me. So I ran out of the house like crazy and started screaming loudly. At that time, hearing my screams, the people in the neighborhood had gathered there. Now I was very scared and looking at my house. Even from a distance, I could see 2 glowing eyes. Then some women stopped me and asked what happened. So I looked nervously at my house, but now I couldn't see anything.
Perhaps the scary shadow that was there was now gone from my house. That's when I realized where I am and how many people are around me. Then a woman angrily said, "What is the feat that has happened to such a situation?" When I saw myself in surprise, I was very embarrassed because there was not a single cloth on my body at that time, and people were looking at me with strange eyes. At that time, the eyes of the men there were heavy on me, and some of the women looked at me with hatred. Now everyone felt that I was doing something wrong with someone, because Salim did not live there, so everyone started making up all kinds of things. In such a situation, I did not stop there even for a moment, so I ran to my room and closed the door of the room well. What happened to me now, more than that, I was crying over my condition, so I burst into tears. That night I was in pain in my bed, and as soon as the morning came, it was very difficult for me to even get out of the house, because the intentions of the men around them change anyway by seeing a single woman. After the condition in which he had seen me that night, his intentions had to change. In such a situation, seeing me on the way, they started making bad comments on me. The same women used to sympathize with me earlier. Now everyone was looking at me with hatred. It's like I've committed a big crime. So without saying anything to anyone, I took quick steps from there and reached the tantric. And then, angrily, she grabbed the tantric's throat and shouted, "What did I not do when you said? I put my honor at stake, and if I don't get my husband this time too, I won't leave you alive." Hearing this, the tantric started smiling strangely and said to go and show your anger to someone else. Saying this, he showed me a video on his mobile, and after seeing it, the ground slipped under my feet. Because when that tantric did wrong to me, the video of all of them was in the mobile, which he had probably secretly recorded. Now he looked at me and said, "Threaten someone else, or else the whole world will see this video." Hearing this, I started trembling. Then she thought about it and said, "Look, what happened happened. You forget too, but I have to get rid of those evil forces." Hearing this, the tantric looked at me and said, "Now you know and those evil forces, because I told you the way. It was up to you to go on it. Now those evil forces are so powerful and terrifying that I won't leave you even if I wanted to. In such a situation, you think about what you have to do." Hearing this, I was so angry with the tantric that I killed him. But it should not become a spectacle of me in front of the people. Thinking of this, I came home without saying anything. Now I wanted to give up my life, but then I said to myself that how can I let my husband and my co-wife live in peace for the people for whom I have done so much? Sometimes I wanted to kill that zenith, but then I'll be in jail. My life will be ruined too. Whereas I wanted to see that zenith suffering while she was alive and wanted to have her husband forever. I was feeling very tired. I was having a lot of pain in my body. In such a situation, I lay down to sleep again, and in a short time, I fell asleep. That's when I felt like someone was trying to whisper something in my ears. When I heard someone's horrible laughter, I woke up in a hurry. I looked around nervously, but now I couldn't see anything. But the fear was too much, so I sat on my bed. After what had happened to me for a few days, I had stopped eating and drinking. I was not conscious of anything. Ever since Salim left me, I had been in a state of madness. Slowly, evening began to fall, and as soon as I remembered last night, I started to get more and more scared. But then, as night fell, I could hear footsteps in my rooms. Hearing this, I woke up in a hurry. Now, in front of my eyes, I saw that the window of the room opened with a loud noise, and a black smoke came in, which gradually took the form of a shadow. Then I saw the same scary shadow coming towards me that I saw yesterday, which made me very scared. In such a situation, I wanted to scream, but my voice was stuck in my throat, and my hands and feet were clenched. In such a situation, I was not able to do anything even if I wanted to. The bus was nervously looking at the shadow, whose footsteps echoed throughout the room, and he himself was making sounds like a mixed sound of a human and an animal. Now that shadow fell on me and started tearing me mercilessly while doing wrong to me. So, even though I saw all this happening to me, I couldn't do anything even if I wanted to. The bus was crying in agony. Then the shadow whispered in my ears, "If you look up to anyone but me, or if someone else comes near you, I will not leave him alive." Hearing this, I was even more frightened that I had put everything on the line to get the husband I had put everything on the line for. Now, if I tried to get him, this evil force would not leave him either.
Just thinking about it made me scared. Who could understand better than me what I was going through at that time? Because of this, the next day I did not leave the house because of the fear of the people, because I knew what kind of things people would make. As soon as I got Salim's call that day, I got up and started talking to him. I thought maybe this was what I was doing to get it. After that, Salim must have developed some love for me. But some people in the locality had conveyed the matter to Salim when I ran away screaming at night without clothes, because of which Salim started abusing me. He started calling me bad, and then in anger he divorced me on the phone. Seeing this, it was as if my world was ruined. I sat there. At that time the brain seemed to stop working. I couldn't understand what had happened to me all of a sudden. Now I burst into tears. But now I was so helpless and destitute that I couldn't do anything. At the same time, 2 days passed by doing this slowly. I didn't even leave my house for 2 days. But my life was worse than hell. Because whoever was with me at night was that scary shadow. He would do the wrong thing all night. He tried to tear me apart, because of which I felt as if someone had beaten me mercilessly. In such a situation, all day long I used to lie on the bed suffering from pain and cry over my fate. Now I was beginning to feel that maybe this evil force would not even leave me alive. What should I do in such a situation? How do I get rid of all this? Probably the same tantric who showed me this way. He should help me a bit. Thinking of this, the next day I came out of the house and people started commenting on me with such comments. They started saying such things that I can't even tell you. Now I reached the tantric and cried in front of him and said that I have to get rid of that evil force. I divorced my husband, who I had done all this to get him. But now that evil force does not allow me to live in peace all night. I have to get rid of them. Seeing my condition now, a diabolical smile appeared on the face of the tantric, and he looked at me and then thought for a moment and said, "Okay, you will get rid of all that. You have to sleep with me tonight." I was very angry when I heard this, but now I had no other option. In such a situation, I said yes and then returned to my house. All day long I lay on the bed writhing in pain, and then in the evening I went to the tantric avoiding everyone's eyes. So when he saw me coming, the tantric stared at me with lustful eyes. Then he would lock the door of his house from the inside and try to touch me before he could make a terrifying sound like the sound of a mixed animal and a human. That voice echoed all around. Seeing this, I looked around nervously. At the same time, the tantric also looked at him in surprise. Then the sound of loud footsteps began to come throughout the house. At the same time, the door of the room opened with a loud noise, and in the light of the bulb in front of me, I saw the shadow standing there. Seeing this, I started trembling. At the same time, when the tantric looked at him, the ground had slipped under his feet, and he could only say this in a panic and fear. Now I understand that whatever evil force is after me, this is a jinn. Seeing this, I started trembling. Then the jinn, who was a jinn, stretched out his hand and took out the bones of the tantric and drank his blood. Along with this, he was torn and eaten, due to which the tantric lost his life while suffering. At that time, seeing such a horrible scene in front of my eyes, I fainted. When I regained consciousness, I was at home. I was surprised to see how I got to my house, and there were scratch marks all over my body. It means that the genie has brought me up. This is what I was thinking when I heard the same terrifying footsteps again. So I started looking at him trembling, when suddenly the door of the house opened with a loud noise. Then the genie came in. Seeing him, I could do something. Before he could do that, he looked at me strangely, shouted angrily, and said in a terrible voice,
"No one will be able to escape. You're just mine." Saying this, he came up to me and panicked. I could not say anything. Then he pounced on me and I writhed in pain all night. She writhed. Then when the pain was unbearable, she fainted. When I regained consciousness in the morning, I was crying in pain. Then the horrible scene of the death of that tantric started coming before my eyes. So I was even more frightened. Now I started thinking that if anyone had seen me going to that tantric's house, otherwise all the blame will fall on me. By the way, let me tell you guys, now I often felt the presence of that spirit in my house. Sometimes it seemed that he was sitting next to me and staring at me, but I could not see him. Sometimes it seemed that he was saying something in my ear, because there was always some terrible sound echoing in my ear, but I did not understand who was saying what. That night, I just made a little boiled rice like this and then ate them and lay down to sleep.
Now I had very little food rations left. I was crying just thinking about the money and so much trouble at the same time. Then at night I couldn't even sleep because of the nervousness. Then after 12 a.m. the same thing happened that happened every day. But today I had a little courage, and looking at that genie, I said with fear, "I will do whatever you say, but you have to do what I want." So hearing this, the jinn started looking at me. Then I hurriedly said that my life has been spoiled because of my co-wife. I want his life to be worse than death, that he begs for death, but he does not get death, and he does not get any happiness. Hearing this, a strange smile appeared on the face of the jinn, and he said in a terrible voice that I will get, but don't even think about anyone other than me. Hearing this, I could not say anything, and then when I could not bear the pain, I fainted again. In the morning, I came to my senses. Well, let me tell you about myself. After what was happening to me, my body was like someone had sucked all the blood. I was beginning to see exactly the structure of the bones. There were also black pits under the eyes, and there was always pain all over the body. I didn't even have the strength to get up and drink water. Passing every moment with great difficulty, always suffering in pain, this was my life. Then one day I got the news from someone that Zenat was going to become a mother, but he had a miscarriage, because one day she was standing on the roof of her house and fell down. He says he felt as if someone had grabbed him and threw him down, due to which both his legs are broken. Now she is always screaming in pain in bed because her legs are always in pain. Along with this, Salim has also lost his job, and he keeps wandering around in search of work. In such a situation, none of his acquaintances have flatly refused to help him. To tell the truth, I was relieved at that time. In the troubled life I was living, it was comforting to know about their suffering today, because they were both responsible for my condition. At the same time, it was also found that all this was done by that jinn. Slowly, only a few days passed like this. It was almost impossible for me to bear any more suffering. Now I wanted to get rid of all this, but I didn't know what to do. The jinn always scared me so that I could not even tell anyone about it. In such a situation, one day I went towards the mosque in search of comfort, but as I was moving towards the mosque, the discomfort in my body was increasing. I was in a lot of pain. I wanted to run away from here, but I kept moving forward. That's when I felt like someone grabbed me in both his hands and threw me away, due to which I got hit in the head and I fell unconscious. When I regained consciousness, I was in the hospital. I was surprised to see how I ended up in the hospital. That's when the elderly Mian Bivi, who lives in our locality, came and asked me how I had fallen there. Hearing this, I did not say anything, so he told me that he was passing by and saw me in an unconscious state and brought me to the hospital. Saying this, they were trying to talk to me repeatedly, but at that time I could not say anything in panic, because I felt as if the voice of the spirit was echoing in my ears again and again. Tears were flowing from my eyes now. Then both the elderly Mian and his wife started talking to me with great love and sympathy. Now that elderly uncle told me that he had called Salim and told him about my condition, but Salim refused to come here and said that he has got a divorce. I have nothing to do with it now. Whether he lives or dies doesn't matter to me. Hearing this, I would say something. Before that, the elderly aunt said, "Son, he has divorced you." Saying this, both the Mian wives looked at each other in surprise. Then that aunt said, "God will punish her for her deeds. That innocent girl's life was ruined by that Hun one. That's why the people of the neighborhood also make up all kinds of things about you." Saying this, Salim started speaking upside down and started sympathizing with me. So, seeing so much love from him, I started crying. I didn't know what to say now. At that time, I was so upset to hear that uncle that I could not bear it, because the person for whom I was living such a life today, for which I rejected my family, did not even consider it appropriate to come here even once after knowing about my condition. What I didn't do for him, and he didn't appreciate my love in the slightest. Tears were flowing from my eyes thinking about this. Now the old uncle put his hand on my head and said, "Son, tell me what trouble you are in, because people make up the wrong things. But looking at you, it seems as if you are in a big problem and are not able to tell anyone anything." And so she suffocated. "My son will go crazy. Tell me what's the matter. If you're like my daughter, won't you tell me what's wrong?" So, hearing this, I looked at him and started crying. So that elderly aunt said the same thing to me. Hearing this, I now thought that death is better than life anyway, and how long will I continue to live like this? It is even better if that jinn kills me instead of telling these people everything. In such a situation, I told them everything in fear about what I had done to get Salim and what had happened to me. Now, hearing my words, both the old uncle and Aunt John looked at each other in surprise. They were nervous at the same time. Seeing this, I thought that now, on hearing the name of Jinn, both of them will leave me alone and run away. But that elderly aunt put her hand on my head and said, "Daughter, the mistake you have made is very big, but you have done all this for the sake of your love, and so much has happened to you. There is a spirit after you who never leaves the one who chases you."
Then the old uncle looked at me after thinking for a while and said, "Son, there is a fakir who can probably get you out of this trouble. I'll talk to him and trust God. He who has no one has God." I couldn't say anything when he said that. Then I returned to my house in the evening. When the genie came that night, he was very angry. He started screaming angrily. Then he started scratching me badly, because of which blood started coming out of my body from place to place. I was writhing in pain and screaming, but no one came to help me. Then I fainted. When I regained consciousness, I was in the hospital. The same elderly uncle and aunt still brought me to the hospital. He told me that he went to my house early in the morning to know my condition and knocked on my door a lot. But when I didn't open the door, he was starting to get a little nervous thinking about me. In such a situation, from the mesh in my house, they asked a child to go inside. No one was ready to help, but the child often begged in the locality. When he was an orphan child, he helped in exchange for some money and got down from the net and opened the door of the house inside. Then there must have been no mishap. Panicking at the thought, they went inside and brought me here after seeing my condition. Now hearing this, I could not even say anything, trembling. That's when I started feeling a strange discomfort in my body. Seeing this, I could understand something, but a terrible voice started echoing in my ears. At that time, the sound was so loud that my head started exploding.
because of which I started screaming in pain. It was starting to suffer. So seeing my condition, the doctor and the two uncles and aunts started taking care of me. But I was writhing in pain. In such a situation, she fainted there while suffering again. Then when I regained consciousness, it was evening and I was still in the hospital. At that time, that elderly uncle-aunt was sitting next to me. He was accompanied by a fakir. When the fakir saw me coming to my senses, as soon as he put his hand on my head, I don't know if my body was not under my control. I grabbed the fakir's hand and started shouting loudly, pushing him in anger. At that time, I was trying to control my anger, but I couldn't do anything even though I wanted to because I felt like I wasn't in my body. The genie is sitting and I'm just watching the spectacle. Now the terrifying voice of the jinn began to echo all around. So a lot of people gathered in the hospital and tried to control me, to silence me. So I pushed everybody. Seeing this, everyone was shocked and upset. Then I got up from there and started running away, so everyone started trying to catch me. But I don't know how I had so much strength that I was running at such a fast speed that no one could catch me. At that time, my body was also not in control of me, and then I jumped from the window from the second floor of that hospital. Seeing this, everyone's eyes were wide open, and I was also very nervous. In such a situation, I also started feeling that maybe now I will not be able to survive, but I fell down on the grass. At the same time, it was also surprising that even after falling from such a high, I did not get hurt. It gave me some comfort to see that. Otherwise, I had given up hope of my life that I would be able to survive. Then I was running away from there. Now seeing all this happening to me, sometimes I felt like I was dreaming. Sometimes I felt like I was running away in reality. And after that, I came to my house and fell unconscious. When I came to my senses, I was lying on the bed and my condition was such that the jinn used to do it with me every night. I was writhing in pain. Then I started hearing a loud knock at the door of my house. Seeing this, I started trembling and could not say anything because now I was very afraid at the slightest sound. Then I heard the voice of the old man's uncle and aunt. "Son, open the door. We are the people. They have come to help you." Hearing this, as soon as I got up from my bed and started to leave, someone pushed me so hard that I fell to the ground. Seeing this, I panicked and then tried to get up. So now I couldn't get up even if I wanted to. My hands and feet seemed to be clenched. The same repeated knocking on the door and the sound of uncle and aunt was coming from outside the door. But even though I tried to say something and I felt as if someone had strangled me. In such a situation, I could not say anything. So they were calling out to me from the window as well. The window was also closed. When I didn't open the door for a long time and didn't answer, they went back. And I was in pain and then fell asleep because my condition was very bad. Then they came back in the evening and started knocking on the door of my house again. Then I started getting very nervous whether to open the door or not. At that time, I could not understand anything because as soon as the thought of that jinnah came to my mind, I was very scared that I don't know what that jinn will do to me. But after hearing the voice of Uncle Auntie again and again, I was about to get down from the bed and proceed to open the door when suddenly the back window of my room opened with a loud noise. Seeing this, I looked at him in fear and a black smoke came into my room making a strange kind of horrible sound and slowly it took the form of that spirit. Seeing this, I started trembling. I did not know what kind of sulking it would do to me now. Then the genie started looking at me angrily and then turned into a black smoke and started coming towards my body as if my whole body was on fire. I started screaming in pain and said, "I don't want to come out." At that time, it was not me, it was the spirit speaking from my body. But when the elderly uncle started talking to open the door again and again, seeing this, I started saying such words to that elderly uncle and aunt in anger that just thinking of them makes me hate myself. But I wasn't doing all that at the time. The genie was trying to force me to call and was speaking for himself. In such a situation, that uncle aunt left me alone and after that the genie started brutalizing me like every day. Slowly the night had passed. When I regained consciousness the next day, I lay on the bed for a few hours because there was no life in my body at all. I was just writhing in pain. At the same time, I was also feeling very hungry, but I wasn't in a good condition to even get up and drink a glass of water.
Then there was a knock at the door of my house, so I opened the door, and there the elderly aunt had brought food for me. Seeing him,
Tears started flowing from my eyes. Because while there are many people in this world who take advantage of someone's compulsion, there are also some good-hearted God's servants, those who just keep helping someone like this without any selfishness. And perhaps God had sent those old uncles and aunts as angels for me at this time. Now that old aunt spoke to me with great affection, fed together. Then she asked me to accompany her to the mosque. Hearing this, I started crying. Now I told them how I want to get rid of all this, how I am spending every moment. My life has now become a burden for me. I want to get away from everything that's happening to me. I want to get rid of all this. But whenever I try, the Spirit doesn't let me do anything like that and bothers me a lot. He is always intimidating. Saying this, I looked at him and said, I apologize with folded hands for some of the wrong words I said to you yesterday. So now that aunt said, Son, we know that everything is very wrong with you. It's not your fault. Your only mistake was that you tried to force the person who left you to get back again. The son who leaves a person never comes back, and by descent, it is not love to be forcibly loved. This coercion is a slavery that we try to make someone do. Son, true love is not valued in this world. Your love was genuine, but that person did not appreciate your love and left you. But you had not forgotten that man, because you felt like you wouldn't be able to live without him. At the same time, you could not see your own maternal uncle's daughter, who had become your stepmother, cheating on you. You were cheated on by both your husband and your maternal uncle's daughter, because of which you were in great trouble. You wanted to punish your uncle's daughter, but how did you forget that any work done in the spirit of revenge always causes pain? And see, what was the slightest mistake you made unknowingly, at what stage your life has come to today? And the person for whom you did so much and endured so much suffering did not even forget to take care of you. Hearing this, I didn't say anything. Then he explained a lot of things to me. Then she took me to the mosque, where I get some comfort from this pain. I wanted to go to the mosque myself. I wanted to pray. She wanted to ask God for forgiveness for her sins, but she couldn't do anything even if she wanted to. After all, what that genie had done to my body, my soul in this way, the same old uncle was also found as soon as my aunt and I came out of my house and we went to the mosque. By the way, maybe if I had my own father and mother at this time, they would not have taken care of me as much as they were taking care of me. They took me to the mosque, but as soon as I stepped on the steps of the mosque, I started trembling. At that moment, I felt as if my whole body was on fire, and the terrifying voice of the genie echoed in my ears. Still, I was trying hard but couldn't move forward. Then I felt as if the spirit had come and grabbed me and started ruthlessly tearing my body and beating me. In such a situation, I started screaming loudly, screaming, and ran back to my house even though I did not want to do it again. Seeing this, both of them tried very hard to stop me, but I didn't stop. Now, coming to my house, I closed the door of the house from inside, and I was trembling when after some time I heard a knock on the door of my house. So as soon as I opened the door in fear, the two elderly Mia Bivi had brought a fakir with them. Seeing this, I couldn't say anything. That's when they came inside my house. Now as soon as I came inside the house, the fakir looked around, and then as soon as he started moving forward looking at me, I do not know that at that time I got so angry that I started screaming loudly and terrifyingly. She started saying dirty words to those people and asking them to leave. But the fakir was looking at me and chanting a few mantras, because of which I started getting even more angry. Then I grabbed the fakir by the throat and waved it in the air. I wasn't doing all this at that time because my body was not under my control. At that time, inside my body was the spirit that was doing all this. Now seeing that fakir waving in the air, those two elderly uncles and aunts also started getting very nervous and hurriedly asked me to leave that fakir. The same fakir was now nervous, as if he could not say anything. That's when I started screaming loudly. At that time, it was like a storm in the whole house. Now the sound of the ghost's screams was heard in a horrible way, as if everyone in the neighborhood was heard. That's when I threw the fakir aside.
So the fakir looked at the old uncle and aunt nervously and said, "As long as she stays in this house, this spirit will not leave her. Because once the jinn comes and starts living in the place, it does not leave that place easily. It should leave this place." Saying this, he opened the door and ran away from there in fear. Seeing this, I then fainted, screaming loudly. So it was those elderly uncles and aunts who took care of me. Now they were very upset to see my condition. Then when I regained consciousness, they were both sitting next to me. When they asked me to leave the house, I started getting very angry. So seeing this, they both told me to rest and left from there. Now after he left, my anger had calmed down on its own. I started crying. Now I was thinking to myself that the fakir's words were right. Maybe if I leave this house and go somewhere, then I will find peace somewhere. But now I was starting to feel very uneasy. In such a situation, I could not leave that house even if I wanted to, and could not leave there. I just felt suffocated. Then when the jinnah came that night, he was very angry. He started brutalizing me and also beating me mercilessly, because of which I became unconscious. In the morning when I regained consciousness, when I came out of my house to get some household items, people were looking at me nervously from a distance. Because now I knew that because of what happened to me every night, my screaming was heard all over the neighborhood. Because of which people now suspected that there was a shadow of some evil wind on me. In such a situation, no one came around me. Now I was just moving forward when I saw a crowd of people in front of that old uncle and aunt's house. I was surprised to see why there is such a crowd here. When I started looking at that to know if they were both okay or not, I started to get very nervous. In such a situation, when I went to that side, I went there and saw that the funeral of both that elderly uncle and aunt was kept. Seeing this, I was blown away. So the way people were talking there, I came to know that at night he hanged himself from the noose. Hearing this, I started trembling and sat there again. Now with great difficulty, I came back to my house. Seeing all this, I realized that it was the jinnah who did all this, because they were helping me without any selfishness. Where they leave their loved ones behind, there he supported me so much even though he was a stranger. I wanted to get out of this painful life, but that genie did not leave both of them alive and took their lives because of me. Just thinking about it made me cry. Now I realized what a big mistake I had made in my life. In particular, I would not have rejected my family for the sake of that Salim. You would have thought about your father's mother's honor, so today I would be living a happy life somewhere. I also had a family of my own, but one mistake of mine completely ruined my life. Now I used to think that I had married Salim in false love, but then when he left me and married Zeenat, I would go back to my house instead of trying to force myself to get her. She apologized to her mother and father. If I had thought about starting a new life, I wish my life was different today. But I had tried to force myself to get the one who had rejected me forever. And in such a situation, today my life has become such that I just wait for death every night, that I wish that someday my breath stops and I can get rid of such a life forever. Because I don't think that jinn will ever let me live in peace, or if anyone tries to help me, he will leave them alive. I have told this story of my life to all of you so that if someone leaves us, let them go. Because if you try to get it by force, you will get nothing but trouble. So just think that if the one who leaves had loved us, if he had loved us, he would never have left us. Because the attempt to get someone in the wrong way only hurts us, and our pain is felt only by us. No one cares what we are living in, because people do not support us in bad times but take advantage of the compulsion, and by the time we realize this, it is too late.
So friends, this was our story today. How did you like the story? Please do tell me by commenting in the comment box. And also, those who haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself and your family. I will meet you soon with a new story. Thank you.